Hello and welcome to episode 19 of Designer Speak. I'm your host Christopher Scott, and today I'm joined by Nicolas Camacho and Mario from Dead Rabbit Productions. Today we're going to talk about something that's very, very interesting, and I think a lot of people can relate to this topic. And that is the difference between art and design, if there is a difference. So, Nicolas, what do you think about this topic?
Well, basically, art, as I said previously, always implied acting, doing something, the poiesis, bringing something to fruition, and just acting. For example, could be something like acting without rules. For example, you always talk about the art of war, the art of writing, the art of creating a composition, the art of talking and stuff like that. Art is executing something, and when we think about design is more like following rules, doing something precise for certain objective, and making it accurate for functionality. So I think that the difference about art and design is that naturality of art versus what design is. Design is more like making something that should work, whether it is like in a shape or in an imagery or in a planning of something. Design is more like something that comes out of a plan.
That's the thing, Nicolas, and you said that design is based on rules and following a certain criteria. But for me, as a designer, I think that the best design is whenever people break the rules and break that, okay, design needs to be in that way, or design needs to be in that shape or that form or something like that. But I think that the best designers don't care about the rules and don't care about like a structure or necessarily following guides, or you can't use this font, this color, and you can't do this or that. But and in terms of like,
well, I was talking just the concept about art, but the thing is that I didn't mean that designers shouldn't be an artist. I believe that the way for designers to become better designers, they have to be artistic most of the time, especially in the spare time, the learning process. They should break the rules. They should go against what they have learned and make a new pattern of things. But that is like actually making art. Let's become an artist. Like, I think designers should never lose the artistic side, the way of executing things in a different way.
That's the thing.
But whenever they actually just follow a certain style, a certain pattern, they are designing something. Like for some, probably some kind of objective, some brand maybe hire them, or maybe they're doing something for social purpose or something. But they are following something for a target, for a purpose. But art sometimes like breaking down everything they know about things and just letting it flow as an impulse, as something they have from inside, like their instincts. But for example, I remember something that Tolstoy wrote in his book, The Meaning of Art. He said that the meaning of art is actually a way for humans not to kill their neighbor. Humans, or people that live in urban places, have this necessity of actually doing things like they did in nature, and this instinct becomes frustrated that they have to invent art in order not to be violent, or not to start chopping down the neighbor, the person beside them. So that's it. This is a kind of strange thought that came from Tolstoy, but I think it's
interesting.
It's kind of interesting.
It is interesting.
So, for example, I think even designers, so every person should use their expression in order to feel better with themselves. So being artistic.
Yeah, but talking about just design, I think design must have a message. You must communicate an idea. If you have an idea, you have to put it on whatever you can make a video, a graphic, a poster, whatever you can do, have a message. you communicate your idea, your concept, your new brand, or whatever you have in the design. But if we talk about the art, it's something different. In the past, art was used paint, for paint faces, like
Abstract things.
abstract things, or to paint something for kings, something for important people, and it doesn't not has any sense. Just have it's like a photography, make a photography for someone, and that's all.
But that's the thing, Mario. I think that design has changed, or not sorry, art has changed. Like, and you said a perfect example. Like art through the history, like years and years ago, like they only used art as like for painting a picture of a king, or commissions. Yeah, exactly. And but there were certain exceptions to that rule. Like certain artists were like more expressive in their opinions and stuff like that. But generally, art was used for a king wanted a painting of himself rather than a photograph, because in the times maybe there was not the technology to make the photograph, so maybe that was the reason why. But I think that art has changed. I don't think the purpose of design has changed. Well, kind of maybe it hasn't, but for me, art has changed. Art before was not really commercial. Art is really commercial now, and so. And design is all about being commercial, but lately there's a big change. There has been a big change in terms of like design has been more social. And actually, do you know what? I actually think that what art used to be, design is becoming. So they've been having like a change in their role and their position. So design is becoming art, and art is becoming design. Like art has been more like art is all about money now. Art is all about money. Art is a business. And like I don't see art as like expressing the person's view or their opinion or something. Obviously, there's an obsession. Certain other people that obviously are doing it for their personality, but I see it. Designers are now doing work that artists used to. Like for example, they design their art, or their social work, or their social posters, or whatever they're trying to do, or their social films, and they're trying to put their personality into their designs. But art is all about more commercially and they're trying to put their just all think about money. Like I think of do you know the skull that was it David Lynch is the name of the designer made the skull with all the crystals. That was all about trying to make money. And he put another one where he put a shark in the middle of a tank, and a real shark in the middle of a tank, and the shark was dead. And so he was basically an artist like that is all trying to be commercial. But I think there's been a change and there's been a shift in the times from what art used to be and also what design used to be also. It's like a change in the system.
But for example, design implies a message, like you said, and the message restrains what you can do.
But there's also
because you need to use a language, you need to be understood, you need to be.
But there's message in art as well, nevertheless.
But the thing in art,
sometimes has a message in art, and maybe
but
what I said,
art,
an abstract art. You probably understand. You probably do not understand. But it depends on the artist. On the artist.
Exactly. We can even talk about subjective art. For example, you don't even know what you're talking about.
I have,
but for example,
but it's still transmitted. All art transmits a message. Even if the artist doesn't want it to, you can have the color blue, and then that makes you feel cold, just mentally. So like, whenever someone says to me that art doesn't, the big difference is people always say that art doesn't doesn't contain a message or doesn't contain an objective. Of course, art has
communicates something.
Of course, and people always, that's the confusion always, Nicolas, and the people always say that art doesn't contain a message or doesn't have an objective, and design does. But I totally disagree with that, because I think everything contains something.
but the difference is between you understand and you don't understand. I have an interesting question for you guys. How you mix design and art? For example, an important artist in the 50s, Andy Warhol, he mixed in his art a commercial thoughts like.
That's the thing, but Mario, design isn't always commercial. Design can be, I can design, for example, we talked in the last episode, the wheel. That wasn't necessarily made for commercial, that was just made for humans to progress. And you can have certain things in design that are not like commercially made. But getting back to your question, how can design and art relate? For me, that's the thing. I don't think there's a big difference. Maybe 20, 30 years ago, there was a big difference between art and design because there was different objectives. But now, I don't see there's a big divide between art and design.
The thing is, you have to understand that sometimes people need to break down the rules and how to make your project is thinking about creativity. Every designer is asked to do something creatively. Of course, nobody wants them to do something crazy that doesn't communicate the message, but they have to do something that is appropriate for the moment or for the trend or for the way that people are thinking at the moment.
But that's the thing, it all depends on the project as well, because you have like designers.
The project.
But
that's designed.
But that's the thing.
The thing, when they are trying to break down the rules, they are taking the artistic side of their perception. They're making something. They're creating something. They're shaping something that hasn't been there, probably has not been used for 100 years or 10 years, or he's just changing a bit the patterns that have been there, but is using, is acting. That's the thing I wanted to say from the beginning, that art means doing, means bringing something,
but so does
just
design.
By living.
Design is doing as well.
Exactly, but design implies to do something for reaching the purpose.
But also an artist or a painter could have that same objective as the designer does.
That's the thing. I told you at the beginning as an advice that designers, to improve themselves, should be artists in their spare time, in the moment of their executing their creativity. They should always try to act more than just follow certain patterns or certain measures or certain trends. They should always try to break down the rules and to make something that will become the next trend for their act.
That's the thing. Is like people think there's barriers and I don't want to be an artist or I don't want to be a designer. Just be what you want to be.
No, but designers have to be artists, I said.
Yeah, of course. No, but that's the thing, and I'm saying it again. But Nicolas, listen. Whenever like Stefan Seidmeister, one day he could design a logo, and then the next day he designs like this awesome photography piece that maybe is more considered art than it is design. It's like you're breaking the barriers between the two, and that's whenever a designer or an artist becomes more involved in what they're doing, is they're not concerned about, I'm making this and this is an art, or this is an art form, or I'm doing this and I'm making this as a design form.
I mean, for breaking down the rules could be called like becoming an artist, being open to new things.
But breaking down the rules, you can be a designer as well.
So you're not making no difference between
there is
two words.
There's
a difference between the two words. Designing means solutioning a problem according to a higher vision to get.
Yeah, but art can solution.
Exactly. Artists use design. Artists are designers. Whenever they know something, they bring something to fruition. They are using design. But the thing is, the concept about design is acting in order not to be restrained, but what you know is actually experimenting with things beyond what is known.
Okay, thank you very much to Nicolas Camacho and Mario from Dave Rabbit for joining me here today. It's a really, really interesting topic, and that's why it got a bit heated and a bit debated. We're going to start fighting. what's your opinion on this topic? Is there a difference between art and design for you, or are they the same? And we would like to hear your thoughts. Comment on our Facebook page and all on the YouTube channel, etc. And get into the discussion, and we'll reply and all these sorts of things to you guys. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us here today. We are Designer Speak.